and period range functions. We use these functions to create periods, and we can create a monthly period, a daily period, an hourly period, and so on. Let's start by looking at the period method. If you haven't imported pandas and numpy, you can import that. I have already imported those. So let's start by looking at the period method. So pandas has a method known as period. Let's call the period method pd.period, and let's pass a month. Currently we are in the month of December, so I'll pass 2016-12 and run it. So here we have period 2016-12 and M stands for month. So this has created a monthly period. So if we just pass the month and the year, the period method will create a monthly period by default. So it will default to this monthly period. What if we pass a day? Let's see an example. So pd.period, and let's pass a day here, 2016-12-29. If I run this now this period function has created a daily period for us. So since we passed a day here, it defaults to a daily period. Okay. Next, let's pass an hour maybe. So let me copy this, pd.period, December 29th, 2016, and let's pass, let's say 5:25:00 and run it. So now it has created a seconds period for us. So our period object defaults to seconds. And similarly, if I just pass, let's say 5:25, I get minutes. So T stands for minutes. So depending on what you pass for your date and time, the period method will create a period which will default to either months or day or seconds or minutes or hours. Okay, let's see some other example. So this period object has a start and end property. That's what we're gonna see next. So I'll save this in a variable called period. Now if I say period dot and then hit tab, you'll see this has all the properties, and the properties that I want to show you are the start time and end time and end time. So let's call those two properties. Let's first call the end time property. So period.end time, we have a timestamp, and then it ends at, here you have a timestamp, it ends at December 31st, 23, 59:59.99, right? That's the end time. And similarly, if you call the start time, period dot start time, you'll get December 1st, 2016. So by using this start time and end time methods, we can check if a given timestamp falls within our period. Okay, we'll see an example of that later on. Okay, so this is for our monthly period. Notice here the start time is December 1st and the end time is December 31st. What if we take this day period? Let me copy that, paste it here, and save it in a variable called period. Let's set that to be equal to our period object 12/29/2016. So this period object defaults to day, right? So if we call period and run it, we see that it defaults to day. Now let's call period dot end time, run it. So it ends at December 29th, 23:59:59, right? Right before December 30th. Similarly, if we call period dot start time, we'll get December 29th, 00:00, right? And by using this start time and end time, we can check if a given timestamp falls within our day period. Okay, let's see one example. Let's use our monthly period. So if we run this, this is what we checked earlier. So our period start time in this case is December 1st, and the end time for our period is the last day of December. So what we'll do is we'll create a timestamp. Let's create a timestamp object, and we'll save it in a variable called time. So pd.timestamp, and let's pass December 24th, 2016. What we'll do is we'll use the start time and then end time methods to see if our timestamp object, if this object falls within this period. Okay? So how can we do that? So we have our period object. If we call our period object, we see that it's a monthly period. And let's call our start time. So pd.start time, and run it. So it starts on January the 1st, right? And the question is to check if this timestamp falls within this period. So what we can say is our start time, so is our period start time less than our timestamp? So we'll pass the timestamp object. So is this less than time? So what shall we get for this? To make it simpler, let me copy our time object, or instead of copying it, we can simply call our time object here. So our timestamp is December 24th, 2016. So our objective is to check if this timestamp falls within our period's start time and end time. So basically, our timestamp has to be greater than our period's start time. So what do you think this will give us? This will give us true. That's because we are comparing our period that start time is this, right? Which is December 1st. And then we are considering our time, which is December 24th. So this statement is true. True, right? It makes sense. Okay, so that's half of the check. The other half is to check if our timestamp object is less than our period's end time. So let's call our period end time period dot end time, which is December 31st, last day of December. So we have the last day of December, and this end time has to be greater than our time, right? So if we check this period, that end time is December 31st, is it greater than our timestamp? Yes, right? So if we run this, it's true. So now we know that our timestamp falls within our time period. Okay, so we did two individual checks, and if both conditions are true, we can say that our timestamp falls within the given time period. And we can combine those two and then make it a single check. So we can say period dot start time is less than our timestamp object is less than period dot end time, and run it. So it's true, right? So you can write it like this in one statement. So that's how you check if your timestamp object falls within your period's start time and end time. Notice here, our period is monthly period. What do you think we'll get if we pass a daily period?